Three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? This is not Ash on Comics, but since he's the one that you came here to see, ladies and gentlemen, here's Ash.
What's going on, everyone? It's Ash on Comics and a special guest, everyone's favorite, the man, Eric Breen. Thank you so much for being here, buddy, and that great introduction. That was awesome. Man, I finally got you on air.
How about that?
I feel like it's end times. Is this like the seventh seal of the apocalypse?
Maybe the sixth.
The sixth? All right. How you been, man?
Oh, pretty good. Had a tough day today. Wasn't sure I'd be awake this late, but I am, so I'm here.
Well, it's always a pleasure.
Ready to talk some comics, some pop culture, and get ready for pillow time with our. I forgot what I called you the other night. Never mind.
Supposed to keep that secret. The tradition, of course, here is to recognize the people in the chat, the good people that make this all possible. Melissa is first, as always. Well, not always, but usually. RDV is number 2. Talk about another stranger. It's like, what's going on? That's the seventh seal of the apocalypse. You're 6, RDV 7, huh? Let's see. It says my head feels groggy. I think I've been drugged and dumped off here. Nice. Tehillim's in the house as G2CU all. Lord is here to continue his campaign to end me. Zach Richmond, good to see you. Man, I had a kind of a rough day too, man. Crazy. On the road, I witnessed some domestic abuse.
Really?
And I got to partake in some road rage. California drivers they don't suck. Like, I've been in all over the country, and man, there's a lot of shitty drivers all over the country. California drivers, they don't suck. They're just major fucking assholes. Like, the worst. I was literally like at a stoplight, and this couple next to me like had their windows rolled down. Like, literally, dude is assaulting the woman like in the car. Like, she's screaming and like she's like leaning over to the right where his seat is. So I can't see what he's doing, but he's obviously hurting her. And I was just like, am I gonna have to like get out? Like, what the hell, you know? And then he stops, and apparently he had taken the keys out of the car so that she couldn't drive it. It's like, so they're just in the street. And I'm like, and I'm witnessing this, and I'm just like, And it all said and done, it probably only lasted like 10 seconds. But when it's happening, it feels like it was going on and on and on. And yeah, I'm glad that it kind of resolved, because it's a scary day and age. Like, I don't know who you want to get involved with. And then as I was getting done at the end of my day, coming home, apparently some guy wanted to pass me, and it was one of those cases where you're on the freeway, and the left lane kind of merges, like it expands like an extra left lane. So I just got over into the left lane because I tend to drive fast, and this guy in this Honda Civic behind me apparently wanted to zoom past me or something. So I could tell, like, I pulled like in front of him, and he was like, and then for the rest of the freeway drive home, the dude is like literally almost causing accidents, like cutting in front of me. Just, I was like, what the F, dude? Yeah. Anyway,
So how close did you come to having? How close did you have to come to changing your name to Crash on Comics?
Yeah. Seriously, I was. Yeah, and I was kind of letting myself get fed. I probably should have just like eased off the gas and just been like, whatever. But I was gonna just pass him and just move on with my day. But every time I tried to pass, the dude literally just like darted over in front of me. It was fucking unreal. And I was like, whoa. And yeah, good thing I can drive, I guess, somewhat well. It's one of the few things I can do. So what was your shitty day?
What wasn't shitty? It's
Oh, you had a hard day.
well, yeah. My brother's brother-in-law brought in the new album shelves, and we had to take all the old ones out and put them all back in. So we took the old shelves out. Fortunately, most of that was done, so you had to do a lot of the cleanup stuff. But looks great. But it just, I said when my fat ass has to do anything resembling physical labor, I get worn out pretty quick.
Right? No, I'm feeling you, man. I think 45 was my kicker, where I just started going downhill quick, and like physical labor became twice as taxing as it ever used to be. It just, I miss being in my 20s. I tell you what.
You and me both.
Oh man. So have you read any good comics lately?
Oh yeah. With apologies to our latest guest who says they're all crap. I had 3 books yesterday that reminded me of why I still do this. I really like Detective 1025, and so much that I didn't even mind it when Batman got on the back of the Batwoman cycle. I thought Flash was outstanding, but Hawkman was, like I said, best book I've read in 2020.
I just read Hawkman today, and I was sitting as I was reading it, and I was like, okay, Eric says, it's one of those things when someone raves about a book, and you're just like, all right, it's not going to live up to expectation. Once you set your expectations super high. But I'll tell you what, man. I was reading it, I was like halfway through it. I was like, this is good. But I mean, Hawkman's always good. Like, I'm not seeing what the. And then I was like, oh. Yeah, it choked me up a little bit in parts. Man, it's a good. They don't make books like this anymore. Well, apparently they do, because it's there. But you wouldn't know it from the Hawkman sales. This was a book written by a man who understands men. That was my takeaway. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was so. I said I really liked it. Was really liking it, and then I got to the last page. It was like, yeah.
Oh, that was the part you really liked. That was
becoming, what happened, right, that preceded it. For anybody that hasn't read it yet, I don't want to spoil it. But then we get to the last page. So it was like, it was like a double shot of, awesome.
Yeah.
And
I had a feeling when I came to that page that I was like, I bet this is what Eric really liked. Um, and it makes me wonder, we've talked about what, we know that Venditti got a new writing gig at DC, and he said it's like what he's dreamed of doing. It's like his dream writing job. And a lot of people have speculated what it's going to be. It makes me wonder if that is some sort of clue, maybe, like what it's going to be.
Well, to me, he's the only person currently in their regular stable of writers that could do that series justice. Obviously Jeff Johns could have, but I think he at this point is happy working in television and doing his Shazam, which is probably on the clock anyway. But
he's off Shazam.
Okay, so I guess he's not right, but he may have left that to concentrate on the three Jokers.
Yeah,
but I if they're going to revive that property, if it's not Venditti, I don't know who else they could give it to that I could look forward to with as much excitement as I did the previous series, the two series that preceded it.
Oh, I'm sure Bendis could do a number on it.
Oh, he could do a number on it, all right. A number 2.
Oh man, I love Hawkman so much, and I know I guffaw about it. This storyline is it's not quite as amazing as that first 12 issues, but man, is it right up there. And just I was the whole thing, he's defied all my expectations. When I came into Hawkman, I was like, oh, whatever. I was all curmudgeon, like just I don't like Hawkman. He's a stupid guy with wings, dumb. And then I was like, oh, okay, I like Hawkman now. But then I was like, but who cares about Hawkwoman? Me doing my normal rants about like not every character needs a love interest. I always talk about, but Venditti has sold me on the idea that probably the best romance in all of DC is Hawkman and Hawkwoman. Like, where it comes to like the couple of a man and woman characters, I will put that above Batman, Catwoman, Superman, Lois. What else has DC got?
Well, I will say, Lois and Clark in the 90s and during Tomasi's run, I would, put up there on the same, maybe even a little higher. Lois and Clark, as they're portrayed now, it's not even an issue.
Well,
I mean,
obviously
they're disqualified right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm counting at their best. Like, Tomasi sold me on the Lois and Clark. I used to be a Wonder Woman Superman guy until I read the Tomasi run, and I was like, oh no, this feels right. Jonathan, this is right. Like, I'm sold, and I do really love that relationship. I think it's the way I want to see modern Superman going forward. But this is even better, in my opinion, as far as characters that need. It's like if Marvel has, Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Like, those are two characters that should never be split apart. They're made to go together. These two characters can never be split apart, right? Like, you can break up Batman and Catwoman. You could even break up Superman and Lois. I wouldn't want it, but you could do it. You can't. I don't think Hawkman could survive it.
Now I am wondering. I said, now they danced around Carter and Kendra, for years, and now that Hawkwoman is back, and she is the one who has been reincarnated through time with Carter and his various incarnations. How do they resolve Kendra, who they had said was her?
I don't know.
That's good. I'm wondering if they'll even bother to tackle that, or maybe come up with a story and say that it really never was, and maybe that's why they could never quite connect.
Well,
because Kendra slept with everybody kind of but him, or in between times with him, and she's gotten around.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, maybe they could just say that, maybe they'll do a story where, that somebody just, planted memories in her, which would be, a future storyline that maybe Venditti could mine at some point.
Well, Justice League under Snyder touched on it. There was a storyline where they went to New Thanagar, I guess, because actual Thanagar's been destroyed. So there's this Thanagar Prime, which is like this secret world that, and this is before Hawkwoman appeared in the Hawkman comic. So she comes across a little different than the way Venditti's writing her. But she's basically queen of all the Thanagarians, or the Empress, or whatever. And she's running this secret planet, and she's kind of bad. And the Justice League show, or part of the Justice League, shows up, of one of which is Kendra. And then Kendra meets her and is like, wait a second. And they do this whole thing where it's like, I can sense what you're thinking. And they both could kind of like reach into each other's thoughts a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did this explanation of like, that they're somehow, because they both reincarnate across time, that somehow the reincarnation got split. So they're essentially from the same, it didn't really explain it well, but it just sort of touched on it, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with comics not giving the whole answer right away, just like teasing you. And that's how I kind of took it, as like, oh, there's a bigger explanation here, but I haven't gotten to what that is. So I'm still kind of confused as what the hell Kendra even is.
See, I'd like to see him, resolve it by saying that she had some kind of false memories implanted in her to, mess with, Hawkman, because obviously, well, I mean, I know they've messed with the continuity so many times, and the Hawk Woman, I'm guessing that, showed up in the Justice League, 'cause I didn't read those books, sounds like the Hawk World Hawk Woman, where she, was not the nicest person in the world. And they had a kind of a contentious relationship throughout the majority of the series, which is, I said, if you haven't read it, it's a 3-issue prestige series.
Mm-hmm.
Well worth it. It's one of the better Hawkman stories you'll ever read.
Which one is it called again?
Hawk World.
Okay.
It was like 1990, and it led to a series, the Hawk World series, which was also, really good. It was very, it was the most militaristic portrayal of Qatar.
Mm-hmm.
But and like I said, that was a real good series as well. But but I think when they brought Kendra back, for whatever reason, they weren't planning on using Hawkwoman, and I think this was just like a different dynamic they were trying, because I said, Hawkman has never really gained traction as a solo character. I mean, he did last 40 issues in the 60s, but they ended up putting Adam in the book with him. If you ever wonder why they're such good friends,
Mm-hmm.
that goes back 50 plus years. Like the last 7 issues were Adam and Hawkman. The next time they tried was, I think, in the, post crisis, and that only lasted 17 issues. Good series, but, just it couldn't, even the Jeff Johns one, as good as it was, it lasted 60 something issues, but the last 16 was Kendra, as the star of the book. So this, it's, and obviously this new version is, as great as it is, isn't getting, traction sales wise, but, and this has nothing to do with the other, but I'd like to see them, resolve the, who is Kendra. If they can do who is Donna Troy every 10 years, they can do one who is Kendra Saunders.
Yeah, I have this feeling that Hawkman is on the chopping block, and that Venditti is writing his, basically to an end. I would really, I might just tweet at him, because Robert Venditti apparently listens to people on Twitter. He recently responded to you, something you had tweeted. He seems to be a really cool guy. I'm gonna see, like, I hope that he can address that lore, because that's what he's been doing so fantastic about Hawkman, is the world building and the lore and the mythos. Which, speaking of which, man, how did you feel about again, I'm not going to spoil anything, so I'm talk around it, but he builds up a certain mythos in his new origin that he did in the single digits, that, and he kind of undoes a lot of what he created. It's almost like he is reverting Hawkman back to the prior state, and I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Well, if I'm picking up on what you're saying, it just seemed to me like the resolution was that he had finally, balanced the scales. Um, Now, assuming we are talking about the same thing, um, that's what I got out of it.
Well, not
Or
not not
or
so
he
much
was
the reasoning, but more about what Hawkman is, like, and his powers, and what makes him who he is. That's Venditti sort of put in this lore that said, I'm going to explain what that is. And then by this issue, he's like, and now I'm going to remove that. And you're like, wait a second. Like, it's a great story. I love
okay,
it. But I'm
okay,
kind of like, I don't want that gone. That made Hawkman so much cooler.
okay, but you know, and now that can always be, you know, that can always be redone, I guess, down the road. But for the purpose of the storyline, it gave it gave the ending a heck of a lot of weight. Well, the first ending, because now it's, it's, at least in their minds, or as far as them going forward, you know, you know what I'm going to say, and I don't,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say it would spoil it. But getting back to something you were saying before, and let me read one quote here. Or yeah, Jimmy, wait one damn sec. Breen is streaming with Ash. Wow, Biden will be president. I swear, if I'd known it was going to lead to that, I wouldn't be here. Um,
Damn it. It's
um,
all Eric's fault.
but you talk about, you're saying how that, yeah, the first 12 issues, like I said, it would have been almost impossible to top. But this last storyline kind of was the one. If there was one thing that would have been added to the first 12 issues, had it been a 12-issue maxi series, it would have been this. So this was kind of like getting to put, the icing on the cake, 13, 14 issues after. And, well worth the wait.
Oh, for sure.
I
I mean,
thought,
I'm not
yeah.
disappointed
So
at all.
no, I know you're
It's
not. I'm
but it feels very
saying,
kind of finalized. It's like one of the things I love in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy is that Nolan was sort of able to like create his own Batman mythos and then end it. Like, a lot of people are upset. They're like, "Oh, Batman wouldn't retire," and I'm like, "Well, not in the comics, right? Right? We have 80 years of Batman. He's gonna go on forever." But Nolan only wants to make a handful of films and then move on, and so he was able to tie a bow on it and be done. And Venditti feels like he did something similar here, but it's not like in a movie setting. I would be through the roof. I'd be like, "This is a fantastic finale ending." Like, it's over and you can just be like, it's done. But comics aren't that way. Comics go on forever, like, and so I'm a mixed feelings. I love the story, but I also am like, but I want it to keep going. Like,
yeah, it would have served as a fitting last issue, but we're fortunate that it isn't. Um, I honestly, I don't know how you top what you've done before, and realistically, he may not be able to. But
right.
what he added at the end of the story, and again, that might have set the stage for the end of the Hawkman series sooner rather than later. But I know that both of them will play a very prominent role going forward.
I hope so.
And, the selfish, fan in me wants both, but seeing that kind of, made me think, okay, I think, I don't think I've got to worry now about losing my monthly fix of these characters.
Yeah.
So, time will tell. And the one thing, like I said, really, there hasn't been a lot of supporting characters in this iteration. And I don't count Madame Xanadu because she pops up all over the place. So, it's not like you'd be losing characters that you'd really come to know and love outside of the main characters, and they would be making the jump to, what we
Right.
were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we're going to be okay either way.
I
I
hope
have
so.
a feeling.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I love it. It's I just want Hawkman to go on forever because I know Venditti can't write Hawkman forever, but it's so refreshing. I tell you, man, I get my comics most every week. I go to the comic book store and I pick up my books, and everything I buy is good. I don't buy any trash anymore. For a while, I was still buying Tom King Batman and Superman stuff, and I was just like, ugh, and it was just making me not like the comics. And I just purged all that. Well, I didn't have to purge Batman because he got booted off, but I was about to purge Batman, and now it's like I'm happy with Tinian Batman. I'm happy with Tomasi on Detective. Oh, I think he'd be better on Superman. He was better on Superman. Um, Even then, like, it's just when I get to the Hawkman every month, when I get to that issue, I'm like, God, this feels like the most heterosexual, normal comic where a man is actually a freaking man, right? And you have Hawkwoman, and she's awesome, and she's not in any way like put down. Like she's not written in any sort of negative light. But her strength doesn't come from being like trying to write her as some masculine caricature, right? Like we see so much in the characters like Captain Marvel and stuff. And I'm talking about the Carol Danvers one, not Shazam. Um, I'm so used to that now, and even the ones that aren't so bad, are still like, oh god, there's it's there. And then you read this, and it's like the power of Hawkwoman is in her belief in her man, right? Like Hawkman is the physical stronger, but he's the emotional weaker, right? And she's kind of the emotional strength, but the physical weaker, and together they complement each other. And there's nothing written in the story of like, oh well, you're just inferior because like it's none of that's necessary. And I love. I gotta say too, I love the sort of it's very, very, very subtle, but the sort of biblical themes that are there, of course, and that's one of the things that made me jump on this series with the origin, when they kind of tied Hawkman into sort of an angelic sort of thing, and I'm like, oh, he's not a Hawkman, he's almost kind of like an angel man, but not really. They don't ever say that, but Shiara actually kind of is. She's not human or whatever. She's not whatever Hawkman is. She's something else. And it's kind of a reverse Genesis story, right? In the Garden of Eden, Eve fails and she she eats the apple, and then she tricks Adam. It's like, oh yeah, you eat it too, and then they condemns them both. Where Shiara is kind of the one who's like, my soul's not damned, but this guy, I'm going to give up all what I have to like put my faith into him and make him better. And like his whole rise, his whole redemption is only possible through her, right? It's just a cool. I can't. I'm not. I feel inferior trying to. I'm not eloquent enough to really describe what my thoughts are, but hopefully some of it's coming across.
No, I get what you're saying. I look at it as I said, he needs her and she needs him.
Yeah.
99 out of 10 modern comics would be, obviously she don't need no Hawkman, but they need each other, and neither one is complete without the other. And this works. I said it. Her strength. I said, if you go back and read that 1990 series, she's got plenty of strength, emotional, emotionally, and they did bring a little, Venditti brought a little bit of that to this series, but it did, I mean, she's a likable character, which let's say, you had to wait a few issues in Hawk World to get to that with her. But like I said, I mean, I don't say this very often in new comics, and you know me well enough to know if I'm saying I'm looking forward to the next number of issues. I said I do not say that often. There's very little in superhero comics that I couldn't take or leave at this point. Hawkman is a rare exception.
Yeah. I would never, if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have laughed if someone would have told me that I would say what I'm saying right now. Hawkman is the last DC comic I would give up. Like, if you were like, you can only read one DC, you have to give up everything else you're reading, I'd be like, all right, it's Hawkman's the one I'm keeping. And seeing that issue today, seeing what Shiera gives up, like, well, it wasn't just today. I mean, it was really going back to the beginning, but this issue kind of really cemented it. What she gives up for him, I was like, wow, has there been a bigger like display of submission and devotion to a man from a woman in comics in the past 20 years? I can't think of one. Like, how is this allowed? I'm just like, what's going on?
This might have been a case. This might have been a case where, low sales afforded him the opportunity to actually do something great.
Yeah, maybe we're fortunate for that.
And I'm with you. Like I said, if I can only keep one, I will go one further. If I can only read one new comic, period, it would be Hawkman.
Yeah, I think I would keep this over Daredevil. If I really love my Daredevil.
That isn't even close for me.
Oh, I love the Daredevil. But yeah, that's probably my number 2, to be honest, is Daredevil. It's Chip Zdarsky's writing something fantastic over there, but it's fantastic in a different way. I would never expect Chip to do some of the themes we talked about here. He's just not that kind of person. Worldviews are different, but he still is able to write an emotional story.
But also, I think, if you're comparing the two books, Chip Zdarsky is not writing the greatest Daredevil of all time.
No.
Robert Venditti is. With respect to Jeff Johns, this is the best Hawkman in his, 80-plus year history.
Sure, but Hawkman never had like a Frank Miller run. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's been a lot of big names.
That's my point. I said, if I had to, so that's what I said. If I could only keep one, I'm not currently reading the best Daredevil ever. I am currently reading the best Hawkman ever. And if it came down to, a tiebreaker, that would break the tie for me.
Sure. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I would definitely pick Hawkman. Hawkman is my number 1 book, but it's kind of also just being fair to your, it's like the best McDonald's hamburger versus the mediocre In-N-Out burger. You know what I'm saying? Like, Daredevil is just had the luxury of having a lot more talent on it. So it's one or the other. Like, I just care about quality, not necessarily that it's the best ever. But me,
if we're only going to pick one book, we should be able to show our receipts. So that's what I'm trying to do.
All right. I will concede to that argument. Let's see who else is in the chat. There's not a lot of discussion. I guess you're really captivating the audience. No one really wants to type anything.
Or they've all fallen asleep.
I was trying to be positive, Eric. Zach says Black Canary and Green Arrow were always my favorite. Also Nightwing and Starfire. That's a different strokes for different folks. For me, um, Melissa says Hawkman and Hewn Woman. Like I'm assuming it's a typo. Um, our favorite couple alongside. He made Hawkman and Hawkwoman. Okay, are my favorite couple alongside Lois and Clark, Peter and MJ, Wonder Woman and Steve, Catwoman and Batman, Reed and Sue. Joker and Harley Quinn should have not broken up. The New 52 ruined Joker and Harley Quinn. Let's see. Jack the King Kirby's birthday is coming up. I'll have to make a note of that. We already talked about Jimmy's comments.
103.
Sergeant Bats is in the channel. What is up? I mean, there's a lot of people here tonight that normally don't frequent my channel, but I guess they just they have the Breen radar. I told you being on would benefit me. Because I'm telling you, I don't think Bats and RDV would be here if it were just me. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
You're already a huge straw. This is just this is just adding to it.
Good to see you, Bats. Hope you're doing well.
I'm talent enhancement, Ash.
Well, you are. You're the real star of the show. I'm just
no. Talent enhancement is the guy they bring in to help make the star look good.
Oh, I'm not a star. I'm a straw. So you got.
No, well, make the straw look good.
You're the straw enhancement.
That's right.
Now with extra suck, we've enhanced the straw. Let's see. Hawkman was in Kingdom. My favorite discussion you've had on here, says Jimmy. My favorite. That's the only discussion I think I've had. No, I was there with. No, that wasn't a story time where I had Nalo. I gotta get Nalo back. Did you watch that when I did that one Ash Wednesdays video live with Nalo?
Yeah, that's why I asked you who that was, because you incorporated that into story time, didn't you?
No, it was just Ash Wednesdays live.
Oh, okay. That's what I was thinking of. See, I'm old. I forget things.
Yeah, that worked out really well, I thought, from my perspective. I Am True Skills is in the house. I should have said shout out to you, Rusty Deo. I think I've addressed everybody, made sure that they're all recognized. Zach says now Eric will only make an appearance here once every 6 months.
now I'm thinking you need to get Nalo and Nolan Nerd.
Dude,
how cool would that be?
I gotta tell you, honestly, I think for the first several months that I knew these guys, I thought they were the same person.
There you go. Well, yeah, Eglintine's been confusing me and Ed Brewer for 3 years, and I said I wanted to see him do a stream with me, Ed Brewer, and Edwin Boyette.
Oh, jeez.
His head would explode.
Oh, jeez. So part of it came because of my Discord channel. Some people, they'll get on the Discord channel and they don't use the exact same name, and so I thought Nalo and then Nola Nerd. I just wasn't connecting Nola versus Nalo, and so I just thought one was like the same guy but add nerd to it, and it was just it's a Discord thing, whatever. That's why I was mixed up. And then I saw them together and I was like, this is weird. I'll keep my mouth shut on this one, but I guess now
steering it back to something like the comment section was giving their couples. I will say one couple that was mentioned that I will say has had some really good defining moments is Dinah and Ollie.
Who?
There's Dinah Lance and Oliver Queen, Black Canary, and Green Arrow.
Yeah, I'm a novice when it comes to Green Arrow.
There is a 3-issue prestige series from the mid to late 80s on Green Arrow called The Longbow Hunter, where Black Canary is kidnapped by a serial killer who has her chained up, and presumably that's not all he does. And in the miniseries, what Oliver does to get vengeance, whatever you want to call it, defined the character, and aspects of that miniseries are still being used today. And that's something like because E's 2 favorite miniseries, I believe, are that one and Hawk World.
Wow.
And I asked him, I said, which one do you like better? And he goes, Longbow Hunters, because It's never been undone.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's, you can't say, as much as I liked Hawkworld, it's just now kind of started to circle back into some elements of that 30 years later. Whereas, Longbow Hunters, that is that is who Oliver Queen is. And, I said, that's another one, to the chat and to you. If you can find those, on Comixology or in your used bins, tremendous story.
I've seen Hawkworld. It might be actually at that comic book store that has the big dollar bin room. I think I might have seen those. Not in the dollar though. They have like
No, that's where I got it. So it gets there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I've got $3 in that series.
they have in the dollar room. They have like one box that's like for graphic novels and trade, like not really, basically books that are bigger than like normal books, that they don't want to sell for $1.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like usually like $2 or $3. And I think I remember seeing them in there, and I was like, oh, and I was like, but it's gonna be like $9 to get all three, which sounds like it'd be worth it if it's good. But when you're buying blind and you don't have recommendations, you're like,
Real quick, yes, Ed Brewer. Yes, someone did say Ed Brewer, and it wasn't Englentine because he didn't call you Eric.
Did I hear you do this?
Yes, you did.
Oh, good. We're alike. What are you drinking? Diet Coke?
Coke Zero.
Coke Zero. Yeah, it's the only diet soda anyone should drink. It'll kill
I hope
you.
I hope you're having a beer.
I am. It's
Have one for me.
a special for a special.
Allow me to drink vicariously through you.
Cheers. I hope you guys in the audience, in the chat, are enjoying a nice cold beverage. You should always have a cold beverage while you're listening to YouTube streams. Yeah. Well, anything else going on in the world of comics that has sparked your interest or desire to talk about?
Well, as I said, I was tremendously impressed with Flash this week. I'm so sick of Reverse Flash. I am so sick of Cheetah. I am so sick of Harley Quinn. I'm so sick of Joker, because modern comics is, don't use anybody that the normie fans that we're trying to get, or the, whatever weirdo cult they're trying to shrink this industry. And that's more of a Marvel thing. But they rarely step outside of the box now with characters. So to do a Reverse Flash story and add something to it that hadn't been done before, I was very impressed with. And it happened, 2 issues ago, where he actually physically enters into Barry's body and takes it over. But then what Barry did, I don't know if you've read it yet or if you even read it.
No,
I know you get it for your friends.
Yeah,
daughter, right?
His daughter, yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't passed it on yet, give that a read, because wherever Barry is trapped, he's like trapped in a pseudo Speed Force. He runs into some people that we haven't seen since before Flashpoint, or since Flashpoint, and that's, at least, gives me hope that we might start seeing some of these characters again. And it's building towards, I think, a satisfying conclusion to Williams's run. Like I said, I'm tickled pink if I get one book, really good in a week. To get 3, it's like, I think the industry probably owes me about 4 weeks of shit now.
Well, man, you bought you bought some different books. I wasn't expecting you to buy, like, you bought Green Lantern. You were buying some books that I was like, I don't know, Eric was getting these.
Well, the more I'll go through spurts where, when I'm having good luck finding back issues. It's like, if you ever gone to a comic book convention and you walk around for the first couple hours and you can't find anything, but once you get started, everything looks good. I'm in one of those everything looks good phases. So I'm reading the Justice Leagues, all 3 of them at the moment. Green Lantern, because it's just so odd. And he brought back Olivia Reynolds. So anytime you get an 80s callback, that's always interesting. And then there was the Kirby ish art style of the last issue. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's a great book by any stretch, but it's right now it's to me it's worth the $4 as much as any book is. But that to say a book is worth $4 is like saying that Mookie Betts is worth $30 million. It's all relative.
Right.
Um, but you know, yeah, that may change. 6 months from now. I said, because I know they're cutting a swath through the Justice League books, and who knows if Hawkman will be around. Whoever takes over for Joshua Williamson on Flash may not work for me, and so I mean, it could get cut way back. But right now, I am actually reading and liking about 8 to 10 DCs a month.
Wow. Well, that's about what I get. I get about 8 or 10 DCs, but they're canceling books, and I don't know if I'm gonna replace them. Like I'm at a point now where my budget on comics, I just look at and go, this is just too much. Like I love comics, but these are gonna be in a dollar bin in 6 months. Like why am I paying $4 for them now to snatch them up later? This other store that I go to, you can just get runs, and they'll do 12 issues for $10. So basically if you get 10 issues, you get 2 free. And I'm like, why? I should only be buying the stuff that I just have to read, because that's another thing. I'm enjoying these books, but since I'm so behind in reading, like some of them are just piling up, and it's not because I dislike it. I'm not like I'm snubbing my nose going, that's bad. I'm just like, I'm behind, and I don't feel like trying to binge right now. And I look at it as, and so I'm like, if I'm feeling that way, I might as well just fall behind and then not actually pay. And then it's also a space issue, been doing some moving around here, and I realized since I got back into comics, I have 9 short boxes of comics. That's in a little over 2 years time. Now that may not be a lot to some bigger collectors, but that on top of my old collection of comics, like I just don't want to keep piling that up. I don't want to do 4 short boxes a year of comics. That will end up a bedroom full of comics, before
How many short boxes do you have? If you could you get within like 1 or 2 of how many? If you count a long box as 2. I mean, I don't know how you keep yours. I switched to short boxes when I hit like 55.
Yeah.
They're easier to maneuver.
Yeah, my old collection is about, well, it's a mix of long and short boxes, but I want to say if I were to count it as short boxes, it's over 20 short boxes. And then of course now I'm like, geez, I'm getting close to half of my old school collection. I didn't buy as much comics back in the day because I was young and had less money to buy on comics. Plus they came out monthly, not like today where it's like bi-weekly, weekly, all Jesus. I mean, since Justice League's already on issue 50. I've been back into comics for less than 2 or just over 2 years. Justice League was not out when I started. It came out later. It's already on 50 issues.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So they just pile up way faster now than they used to. I mean, I used to buy comics that were bi-monthly. Geez, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you never knew when the next issue was going to come out. You just like got an issue and you're like, I hope the next one comes out this year. Like it hardly ever came out.
Well, I think I figured out that I told myself I wasn't gonna collect again, and I don't know how accurate a statement that is anymore, because I have probably I'm probably pushing 100 short boxes again, which again is a far cry from 255 long boxes. I mean, I'm never going to get anywhere near that number again, but I also probably have 600 trades, omnibuses, masterworks, combined.
Wow.
So, I've got, I've probably got about, at least with Marvel, I probably have 80% of 80 to 90% of what I want to get. Like I've got, trades that cover all the old issues of all of the old, like the Avengers, FF, Spider-Man, you know, Daredevil, Thor,
Mm-hmm.
Captain America, Shield, all of them.
Right.
Iron Man, can't leave Iron Man out in case Morania's hiding somewhere in the chat. Um, but and X-Men, because I know Ash is, here as well, so I can't leave them out. But but I tell you, it's weird. When I had 50,000 plus comic books, it almost felt like a job.
Oh yeah.
And I would have to carve out like a week's time to integrate. Like I'd fill up about 10 long boxes and then integrate them into the 200 I already had, which necessitated moving literally 400 boxes because you have to move each one twice. But now that I don't have them anymore, one thing I couldn't do, when my collection was that big was there was no such thing as dollar shopping because I had everything. $100 shopping was about, if I needed a book, that's about what it was, what it would cost. And it took hunting for back issues, even if you're not collecting them per se, is one of the great joys of this hobby. And I lost that. And now I have it again. When I, like yesterday, I find $60 books and, like I don't, there was like a special Spider-Man Legacy of Evil. It was dealing with Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn's legacy and what they wanted for the grandson. Great one issue story. 20 something years ago, falling completely down the memory hole. Got it for $1 yesterday,
Oh wow.
and that kind of stuff is just it's really brought the fun back. And it it's weird. The more I enjoy reading the back issues, it makes it easier to enjoy more of the new stuff that's being done well. I mean, none of this obviously has translated into anything in Marvel other than Daredevil. Although I did get the symbiote Spider-Man miniseries. That was fun, but it's I don't know how much I'll remember of it tomorrow. But yeah, but I said so. I guess if nothing else, I've realized I am a hopeless lifer.
Yeah, the thing for me about back issues, um, that's kind of been sapped for me, because I mean, my first job, well, if I don't count my paper route when I was at 10, I had a paper route, but I got a job in a comic book store when I was 13 when I started collecting. I think I've told this story before, but the owner of the store said, "Hey, you want to do some work for me? I'll pay you in comics." Because I was always in the store and I was just going through the back issues all the time. And, I had just recently discovered comics and, I was like, ooh, look at these cool issues, and it just blew my mind, that I had to like wait a month for the next issue to come out. I was on X-Men 210, but I could go into the back issue being like, ooh, here's 209, here's 208. And I had all these issues I could, and of course they didn't have every issue. So then there'd be holes. But then sometimes they would appear and I'd be like, oh, and I was collecting these issues and it was exciting. And this was the only way to get these stories. Now you fast forward to today, and not only do I not have that youthful sort of, uh, outlook, but also because everything's so easy to attain like digitally. So I can just like type in the title, um, oh, I want to read. Eric said I should read this. Just type in the title. Boom, here it is on Comixology. Like it's there's no hunt, right? Where once upon a time you'd have been like, have you ever read this? No. Oh, dude, you should go. And become a fan of it. And then you're like, okay, I want to track these issues down. That's the only way you're gonna find them. It became like this treasure hunt to get the issues, and it's gone. It's all just type in a search online and you got the book, and that's great. It's convenient. I love it. Like I'm not necessarily complaining about that aspect. It certainly helps my budget because you said you had like 600 graphic novels. I don't have that many, but all the trades that I've bought in the past couple years, with just a couple of exceptions, are all digital. Um, so I don't have.
Yeah,
I save a lot of space buying comics that way because there's no room. Um,
I think one of the reasons why maybe I still get so much out of finding these back issues is I have never read a book digitally in my life.
well, um,
So
maybe
I
that's a
don't
good
know
thing.
that convenience. Well, or maybe not, because like I said, space eventually I said I have the space now. Eventually I'm not. And I will have to make some hard choices, as far as like what I keep, because even stacked, 5 or 6 high, 100 short boxes, they do take up some room.
Oh, they do. And then it's like you said, it's like a job managing, especially if you try to keep them organized. Um, which
Yeah,
I
I've got
recent
7 short boxes. I cleaned up a couple months ago, and I've already read 7 short boxes worth that are in my main room, and then the room off to the side, I have 4 full long boxes of unread books and a couch full of short boxes, the vast majority of which I haven't read yet.
wow. Well,
I mean, I'll never catch up.
the key to reading digitally, in my opinion, is it's all in the reader, to what device you have. If you're reading on a phone, it's not going to be pleasant.
No.
Even reading on a laptop, your screen is horizontal. It's not in the same format. Um, so that's probably not great. Because I have like a 17-inch laptop, and even that monitor is just it's I can do it, but I don't really like it. Plus, I don't want to just have to sit, like hunched over a computer reading. Sometimes you just want to like kick back on a chair or whatever your favorite comfortable place to read is. You can read them, and having a good tablet with a big screen makes all the difference. I really wish there were more options for tablets. I tell people these days, I'm like, the best economical decision is pick up a Kindle Fire HD when Amazon has their sales, because I've seen them go for as little as $99 for the 10-inch one. I would not go smaller than 10 inches, um, and it'll be approximately the size of a comic, like one comic page, so you won't really lose any visibility size. You won't have to be squinting to read the page or anything. Um, but like I'm on my iPad Pro, it's 12.1 inch screen, so it's about as big as like the oversized trades, the big oversized hardcovers, and just reading in bed with the lights off. I can take it wherever I go, so it's like I basically have my comic collection with me. It's so convenient for reading, and like I said, even now when I buy new comics, I go buy the comics and then I go download digital copies of it, and I just read it. I just file the comics away in my bins, and I read them on the tablet, because once you get used to it, the convenience factor, and they look gorgeous. And it's, I know it's a taste thing. I do like the tactile feel of a physical book, but I also really like the convenience of not having to like be careful what I'm reading, especially if it is something that could be valuable or whatever. And even when a book's not valuable, I just have that anal retentiveness of like, I don't want to risk damaging it. I got to keep it in pristine. That's just always how I've been.
No, I know what you mean. I really wish I hadn't been eating Cheetos when I read Batman '89. It's if I'd been on a computer, what if that's um I saw something popped up in the chat here. I said, uh Vankman asked, Jimmy if he heard about the Jason Aaron New World event. And Jimmy says, hell yeah, and I'm excited as bleep. And I'm thinking, you know, that's something that I thought was gone until, like I said, this week, or didn't think I'd seen since Hawkman 12. So I said instead of needling him about Aaron, I'm just saying, you know, I hope it's as good as you're hoping it is. Yeah, it's going to be because I said it's I don't care whether you're 20 or slightly older. In my case, there's the thing that makes this hobby something that I've stuck with from 15 to slightly older than Jimmy is books like Hawkman 26, and hopefully for him, like I said, whatever that world event is that's coming up. Yeah, it's
Well, with Marvel, man, there's what like 6 world-ending events before the end of the year. So
well,
they're
but
just
again, like I said, if he could, if Josh gets those and feels about that the way I felt about Hawkman 26 or Hawkman 1 through 12, you know, like I said, we all win.
yeah. Well, he
Yeah, 'cause
wins.
that's
I don't know if we
well,
all
no,
win.
we won. No, we won with Hawkman. He wins with whatever that event is. So
Certainly.
I'm saying, yeah, that's one of the great things about comics is there's something will there's always going to be something at some point that makes you realize why you're doing this.
As long as you're legitimately loving them. I remember when I was young, I thought that I loved everything that I was reading, and a lot of what I was loving was built, was reinforced by my desire to love it. Eventually, I would have to just kind of admit to myself that I don't really like Iron Man comics. Like these aren't as good as I want them to be. Like, but I would be excited. I'd be like, "Yeah, Iron Man, and the new Iron Man is cool." And like I was a big Iron Man collector because I wanted to like Iron Man, and it wasn't like they were trash, but it was my enthusiasm kind of had me looking at them through rose-colored glasses. And
I get
and
that.
over the years, as years went by, I could just start to be a little bit more honest with myself. Um, and like I said, I don't trash them. I don't say that they're awful books or anything, but I do admit that they were just more average than the fan in me at the time was willing to admit because I was a fan. Where I think now, being a lot older, obviously I'm more cynical. It's I tend to be a lot more quick on the draw on nope, that's not worth my time. Nope, that's not doing it for me. And maybe that's where my snobbiness comes from, is from the fact that I have read thousands of comics now, and
Listen, yes, kids, he talks with his pinky extended.
okay. It just it's. Well, I think with anything, when anything that you do, if you do it enough, whether it's drink beer, eventually, if you're a really diehard beer drinker, not to be not for the intoxication factor, but just because you are like beer, eventually you'll start to acquire taste for a little bit better quality. I think that's true with a lot of things. If you're a foodie, eventually you look at food and go, this basic stuff is Kraft mac and cheese is not the shit that I thought it was when I was a little kid. Like, I think that's how it is. And like I said, it all comes down to really your own true enjoyment. If you truly are walking away blown away, well, it doesn't really matter then. It doesn't matter if the book is great or if it's trash. It gave you that endorphin rush. It gave you that sense of enjoyment.
Well, yeah, let me. That kind of brings us. Well, first, let me say, I never liked you, Jimmy. Um, it, if you've been doing this for as long as I have, one thing I've noticed was when I first started, Marvel was kicking all kinds of ass. DC had some good books, but had a lot of books that just aimed very young, never tried to be anything more than just literally disposable entertainment for preteens. But now 40 something years later, I can go back and read even those simple stories and appreciate them as comic book history. And some of the books were actually better than I gave them credit for. But I said it's and like artists that used to drive me nuts that they were on a book that I actually liked. now I can go back and read them and go, yeah, it's just like I said, it's part of it's history now. And even something as recent as New 52, I'm finding pockets of pretty interesting books. But I was so salty when that came out because they undid my universe. That I couldn't bring myself to read any of it at the time. So
Right.
I guess that's another thing about this hobby. I said if you stick with it long enough, and like despite however many attempts by the industry to drive you out, if you're still here, there's a reason. And part of it is, I think, being able to go back and mine stuff from the past. And, maybe it's not, like I said, it's not, you're not going to find it. If there was another Miller Daredevil out there, you would have found it. But there are some things out there that you can either discover or rediscover that, makes this, like I said, is still, one of the greatest hobbies you can have.
It is. And that's a great thing for me, enjoying becoming a DC fan now, because I used to be just a Marvel fanboy, and I was snub my nose at DC unless it was Batman. Pretty much DC, I didn't give DC hardly any attention. But now there's this whole universe of 80 years of history of DC that I can kind of come into as a new comics fan, right? When I look over at Marvel, all I see is my disappointment of how it's not like what it used to be. But with DC, I miss DC. The whole 80s I wasn't getting, except for I did get some Detective for a while. I did pick up a little bit of that John Ostrander Spectre run. I don't know if I ever even read it though, to be truthful. I bought it because of the hype. But there's all this stuff now where back in that day I was just like, whatever, that's dumb. It's DC stuff. I look at it and go, ooh, I really want to read those old Hawkworld books. I really, like I want to check out this stuff. I'm really curious about, was it the JLI books you've always recommended, saying that they're the ones that are like the kind of the goofy,
The Bwahaha era.
yeah.
Yes.
I kind of want to check these out. I kind of want to see what I missed, and I think my prejudice didn't allow me to make these discoveries, which was bad at the time, but is good now, because now there's all these discoveries. I don't know squat about great classic DC stuff, except
Were
for,
you watching the stream when I was talking about when I did were you, or, and forgive me, I said I lose track of who was on what. When I did the 1 minute review of Justice League 1,
I don't think so.
where, where, you know who Oberon is, right? He's the midget that, manages, scot free.
No, I'm very, man.
Okay,
I
well,
know
Mr.
very little
Miracle,
about the New Gods.
Oberon's a mortal that he became Scott Free's manager when he came to Earth, and he's literally like 3 feet tall. He the first issue he introduces himself to Guy Gardner, and Guy says, "Oh, hey there, Sneezy. The other 6 dwarfs couldn't make it," and you just see him walking away, going mutter, mutter, mumble, gripe. And then when John Jones says something to Guy Gardner, he goes, he tells me he's going to boot him all the way back to the valley, and then goes, ho, ho, ho. And instantly what you're in for.
I see.
And I said, again, but they managed to tell, coherent, good stories in between one-liners. It's just everything about that book worked. And, it lasted for about 4 years. Spawned a second title, and then DC decided they wanted to go back to making it serious, and just undid it in a story arc that took about 4 or 5 months, called Breakdowns, and then they went back to being the same boring ass Justice League that I mean, there's a reason why they begged Grant Morrison to take over about 10 years after this ended, because everybody said, well, we want the classic characters. Well, every time we gave you the classic characters, nobody cared.
Right.
So Yeah, but yeah, it's a fun read. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not gonna. You're not gonna put it up there in that pantheon of great titles, but it is a whole lot of fun.
Well, sometimes that's what you want. I think I was just making a comment. I forget where it was, whether it was on a stream or Twitter, or I forget where it was. Oh, maybe it was on one of my own videos. But I was talking about that new book, Firepower, by Robert Kirkman,
Hmm.
and I was defending specifically the graphic novel that came out first. So it's a really weird release thing that Kirkman did. He likes to experiment with how he launches books. I give him tons of credit. I think it's really good for the industry. In this one, I'm a little bit not quite sure because I think some people are just they're trained as comic fans, jump on a title at number one, not jump on at a graphic novel first. Get number one, see if you like it, then buy the graphic novel. Which all that's fine, it makes sense. However, this book, this series, really, I do my best. I'm telling you, if anyone's listening, don't read number one first. I know it's counterintuitive. You need to read the OGN first to have the best experience. I mean, you can read it however you want, but I think reading the original graphic novel, if you read issue one, you're going to spoil the graphic novel in some ways. You're going to just know the outcomes of certain things, and so you won't have the same tension, whatever. But be that as it may, that book, and as good as, I'm telling you, Eric, as good as that Hawkman issue was today, I can't say it's the best I mean, it's not fair because the graphic novel's 160 pages, but that's the best thing I've read all year was that Firepower number one. It's not because it was this deep book. It's not because it's like the next Kingdom Come or anything like that. It's not the Watchmen. It's it's not this profound piece of literature. But what it is a clinic on comic books. Robert Kirkman's writing in this book is so efficient and it's so elegant. He doesn't waste any space. He knows how to tell a visual story. He knows how to put an adventure in a book. Every single character in the book is likable. Most of them are funny, but they're not like silly wacky like the modern day comics with the silly Billy humor. Like
Hmm.
it's actual real like clever funny, making you laugh. And it's just by the time I get to the end of that book, I was like, this was a pure joy to read. I just read 160 pages. It's 8 issues worth of comic. And I want to say that I blasted through it, but I didn't. I literally, because I was so enjoying it, I let my eyes fixate on each panel. And I found myself, because his writing was so good, that I was reading it to a beat, like music, right? A good comic, and think about this, you guys that are listening. Next time you read a good comic, I know a lot of you, because I'm this way too, you can just blast through a comic. Your eyes can dart to every little word balloon and just bing, 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 and you can just get the story and you can comprehend what's going on and you can just blast through a comic in like 10 minutes or less. And I know that, I get it. But a good comic is like music. You can play a song on fast forward. You'll still hear the whole song, but it's not nearly as enjoyable, right? A good song needs to be played at the exact beats per minute that it's designed to play at. And a comic book should read that way too. I mean, it has beats, not literal ones like music, but you will sense them, and a good writer will know how to place them in the book so that your brain can subconsciously follow the beat, and it will start to play like a movie, and you won't move to the next panel too fast. The scenes will play out, and if you really let yourself get immersed, your brain will almost fill in the imagery between panel to panel. And when a comic can do that, whenever you experience that in a comic, if you haven't already, then you're going to sit back and go, wow, that was an amazing book.
Okay,
And
how far behind am I on that now?
On what?
How much of how like the graphic novel and how many issues have come out?
Issue 1 and 2 came out last week. They came out together on the same day.
Okay, was the free comic book day one covered in any of the
Yes,
graphic novel or
free
the
comic book
okay
day is issue 1.
okay, um, and how much is the trade that you read?
$9.99.
Okay, I'm getting tired of everybody whose opinion I respect raving about it, so I think I'm gonna have to you know get on the train here.
Now I wanna be careful because every time you rave about a book, you can set the expectations through the moon, and then of course people read it and go, "Wasn't that good, Ash?"
Yeah, but well, it doesn't have to be. I know if I think E liked. I think Vank liked it. You've commented on it, and I said I was a huge Invincible fan for the first 100 issues. Now I never read Walking Dead. Still haven't read an issue, so it's not like I'm give me anything he does. At that particular, it just never really was my cup of tea,
Uh-huh.
and I was still salty about my dealer begging me to buy number one, and I was too stupid to do so.
Right.
But no, I said so. I mean, I'm liking my chances of liking it a lot. But anywho, these kids, have been waiting for over an hour to hear the dulcet tones of the Oracle of Oration, and it's probably time you gave them what they came for.
Oh
So
man.
now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me first say adieu so that Ash can serenade you with his sultry speaking voice. How was that?
I don't know how I can live up to that. That was like too good of an intro. It's like you just like stole the show.
um,
Um
no, but yeah, I said, thanks for letting me come on and hang out with you before you start reading. Like I'm gonna jump in the chat here for a few minutes or inspect the inside of my eyelids, but we will do this again.
all right. Well, you're always welcome and I really appreciate you being here, and however long you can enjoy some comics, then I will appreciate that time as well.
And long before Ash says good night, kids. Take care, Ash.
Take care, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys and ladies in chat. Not very talkative tonight. I'm telling you, man. Having Eric Breen on the channel just seems to captivate the audience. RDV says I won with Venditti Superman of Tomorrow. I think everybody wins with that. If you guys aren't reading this Venditti Superman of Tomorrow, have no fear because I'm reading them on the Storytime Lives. But you can pick them up digitally for less than $1. I recommend that you do that. Let's see. Tehillim says he's talking about some people might like a European beer over an American beer. They would be weird. Just as long as you don't drink Aussie beer. Not a fan of Aussie beer. I like Mexican beer though. Mexicans seem to do a pretty good job with beer for some reason. All right, let's get started with I was at Amazon. The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue 299, leading up to one of the most iconic Spider-Man runs of all time, in my opinion. And this is can't talk without Breen here. It's like a crutch. This is continuing the story that we did from last episode with the character Chance. He's kind of a throwaway character in my opinion, but like I said, this is all setting a stage for something bigger. We got the first cameo appearance of Venom on the previous issue, and here we go. Ever have one of those days? Yo, mister, there's someone riding on top of your truck. Ah, geez, this always worked before. Survival of the Hittest. Stan Lee presents The Amazing Spider-Man. Written by David Michelini, pencils by Todd McFarlane, inks by Bob McLeod. Notice something real quick here. Notice the credits are about an inch about the top of the page versus modern Marvel. This would be a 2-page splash devoted to everyone who made this book is, we got to have a 2-page splash because we're so self-important. Anyways, sorry. Had to get my little salty comment out there. Anyways, go to full screen. Go back to the book. Hey, kid, shh. I'll give you a quarter. How do I get into these things? Nuts. I know exactly how I got into this one. I was trying to make a buck by taking photos of a secret arms shipment last night when a costumed gun for hire called Chance and tried to steal it. A freaking power blackout let Chance escape before with the weapons, but before I tagged him with a spider tracer. I spent all morning crisscrossing Manhattan, trying to pick up a signal from the tracer. If you missed last episode, there you go. Now you're all filled in. The magic of old school comics. Until this 16-wheeler started my spider sense buzzing like crazy. A smoke detector at George Burns' house. I didn't really read that last one correctly. Sorry about that. That's when I decided to follow the truck to catch Chance with the goods. But I didn't count on this traffic jam or on a kid with a mouth as big as the Holland Tunnel. All right, you, get down. Perfect. You may find this hard to believe, officer, but there's a master criminal inside this truck. And just because I'm in a good mood today, I'm going to let you arrest him. Oh, that's big of you. What's your story, driver? The creep's blowing smoke, officer. I'm just hauling supplies for Carlton Drake. Drake? The big street bigwig? You'd better have proof, web slinger. Blast. I could rip the doors off the van and show him, but Chance might come out shooting. I, don't suppose you'd take my word? That does it. Move it out, driver. And as for you, hotshot, next time, get your facts straight. I miss old school Spider-Man where, like, the police just didn't believe him because some of them thought he was kind of a villain because of J. Jonah Jameson. It's a whole different Marvel world these days. No way to get back on the truck. Driver will be watching for me. And once he's through that tunnel, he'll be in New Jersey on the interstate heading anywhere. All that work for nothing. I'll have to think of some other way to find Chance. Nothing to do now but head on home. No one watching. I'll just let myself in through the skylight and... locked? And a note? Skylight repairman. Please use front door. Skylight repairman? Sounds like something I'd better check out as Peter Parker. Good. No one stumbled across the civilian clothes that I've been stashing in this alley. See Spectacular Spider-Man 128. Holy shit, continuity? Are you telling me that something happened that he just crossed over with? Sorry, being facetious again. They're not exactly springtime fresh, but they should do until I get inside. Mary Jane, what was that note about? Peter! Hi! Smooch. You, haven't met Estelle, have you? Estelle? Our cleaning lady? Estelle, this is my husband. Hiya, Mr. Parker. Cleaning lady? Come into the bedroom, okay? I want to show you the new drapes. Drapes? Soon. Sorry about the surprise, hon. I left that note so you wouldn't drop in as Spider-Man. Estelle's worked for me for a couple of years. As a fashion model, my living is in my looks. And ad agencies sort of frown on dishpan hands, you know? Yeah, makes sense. You sure it's okay? You look a little grim. It's not that. Chance got away again, and I'm worried about what he's going to do. Well, it may sound selfish, but I'm just glad you weren't hurt. And as for dumping your blues, I've always found that parties work for me. How about it, Tiger? At that moment, Peter Parker finds bright lights and hot sounds definitely appealing. But as dusk lowers over the northern New Jersey, the only lights seen there come from a 16-wheeler pulling up to a heavily guarded gate, while the only sounds are those of conspiracy. Looks peaceful, don't he? Maybe now, Mr. Drake, when Chance wakes up and finds we never intended to pay him for those weapons that we tricked him into being our prisoner, he could be trouble. Mr. Gabriel, you've been a board member of the Life Foundation for years. You should know by now that we prepare for any eventuality. Like it or not, Chance will be a key element in our boldest, most profitable venture ever. Sanctum Maximus. While in New York, the night grows old. The Spawning Club, and becomes property of the young. Oh my God, look at that. Look at that 80s attire. Stop squirming, Peter. You act like your mother dressed you, not me. Sorry, MJ. I'll try to look cool or hot, whatever. Oh, look. There's Eddie. Hi, Eddie. The comedian? You know him? Sure. He's a real sweetheart. Once you get past his bodyguards. Poke. MJ, we just gotta have one nutty little dance. Paul, good to see you. I heard you tied the knot. This must be the lucky cat. Uh-huh. Would you mind, Peter? No. Go right ahead. Thanks, babe. Wow. I may never fit into Mary Jane's world completely, but it sure is a fun place to visit once in a while. Look at Peter. Peter looks so stupid. New Jersey. Construction continues on what appears to be a small city hidden beneath a gargantuan camouflaged dome. While inside one of the completed buildings, you are a unique individual, Chance, a criminal for hire who does not charge for his services. Rather, you wager your fee against your success. To you, risk is all. Nevertheless, I suggest you consider the unfavorable odds inherent in your present situation. We brought you here in order to duplicate your wrist blasters and ankle jets. However, our scientists can't seem to find any trigger mechanisms. They're obviously activated cybernetically, but we haven't been able to discover the precise method. Our resources are vast. It would be wise to tell us exactly what we want to know, while you're still relatively undamaged. For I assure you, one way or another, you will tell us. Wanna bet? Chelsea Street. An early morning moon shines onto the top floor apartment, where a couple, newlywed, lies easy and talks, as newlyweds are wont to do. Didn't work, huh, Tiger? The club was fabulous, Mary Jane. I'd like to do it again sometime. But now the music stopped and reality's still here. I know that somewhere, someone's got a shipment of stolen military weapons. And I can't help worrying about what's going to be done with them. Who's going to be killed with them. I just can't run away from it. Somehow I've got to find a chance. I understand, Peter. Just be careful, okay? Manhattan. New sun brightens the downtown skyscraper, serving as headquarters for the city's hardest-working newspaper. An institution whose back-issue morgue currently functions as a research mecca for one Peter Parker. My only clue was the name Carlton Drake. I've read everything written about the man in the last few years, but haven't found anything even vaguely sinister. There were hints of political manipulation, insider stock deals, the usual stuff you find about the most powerfully wealthy men. But the only out-of-the-ordinary item was the withdrawal of support for an agricultural research project at Empire State University. Thanks, Earl. Sure thing, Pete. And the only thing strange about that was that it had been a valuable tax write-off, and no reason was given for the withdrawal. Excuse me a minute, Miss Thompson. Peter, haven't seen you around a while. Heading out to get us some more freelance photos? Maybe later, Robbie. Right now, I'm going back to school. Oh? Empire State University, one of the New York's foremost institutes of higher learning, and a source of fond nostalgia for Peter Parker. He remembers his undergraduate days, the carefree life, the excitement of discovery. Thus, his smile is both genuine and wide as he enters the registrar's office, and shares that smile with administrative assistant Annie Dietz. I've called up the information you wanted, Peter, but since you aren't a student anymore, you're not supposed to look at it. I hope you'll remember that while I'm off powdering my nose for, say, 5 minutes. Thanks, Annie. And once alone, the support Drake withdrew was a rent-free lease on several hundred acres of prime forest land in northern New Jersey. And Jersey was where that shipment of building supplies was headed. Better call Mary Jane. Let her know I'll be late for... No, she'd just worry. I'll tell her later. State Road, G2. A northbound trucker releases a lone hitchhiker to the New Jersey wilderness. A traveler who then turns and cautiously enters the twilight-dim woodlands. Bus got me to the nearest town. Had to thumb my way here, though. Should be close to the area shown on ESU records. I just hope... Whoa. Either this is a factory outlet for Guards R Us, or I've just hit the jackpot. Time to go to work. Arms were probably stolen by some off-the-wall paramilitary group. Maybe even terrorists. Have to find out what they're up to. Then figure some way to keep them from going through with... Yeep! Those trees aren't trees. Some kind of structure, camouflage canvas on a metal frame. And from the looks of those wires, it's rigged with booby traps or alarms. I have to get in, but how? A light. A gate opening. But that still leaves the guards to... Gates opening to let that pickup in. I didn't have much luck riding on top of a truck in Manhattan, but maybe... Moments later, within the Sanctum Maximus. Nice rig. Power winch, high rider wheels. Man, that hauler's got everything. Can't see much from here, though. Have to trust my spider sense. Wait for the driver to slow for a turn and then roll for cover. Made it. Now to see what... Oh my gosh. Now I know why Drake wanted his land back. This isn't a small-time terrorist scheme. It makes Club Med look like a Warsaw ghetto. I don't get it. What has a secret resort got to do with stolen guns? Wait a sec. Spider sense tingling, but not from danger. I'm picking up a signal from a spider tracer, and that could only mean... chance. We were rolling the bones like old gamblers do, tossing the cubes till 1:45. Plink, 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 huh? Okay, Chance, what's going on? Spider-Man. How nice of you to drop in. And what a clever ploy gaining access through the ventilation shaft. The controls for my shackles are on the console somewhere. Release me, dear boy, and I'll tell you everything. Without weapons, Chance is no threat. Besides, I don't have time to bargain. Okay, talk. Basically, I found that Drake and the Life Foundation are survivalists, but a very special breed. Though they feel that the world may soon plunge into total chaos, they have no interest in living off the land, roughing it, that sort of thing. And they're convinced that there are others who want to survive, but don't want to work for it. So they've set up this survival community, complete with every luxury from swimming pools to saunas, and they're selling escape combos to the rich and famous for $1 million a pop. For protection, they hired a private army and equipped them with weapons that they had me steal. But there was a hitch. Being the only ones armed, those protectors might decide to take over. So the Life Foundation thought to equip themselves with my wrist blasters, to police the police, so to speak. Rather brilliant, making Calamity pay like that. Too bad they didn't just ask for my help. I might have bought in. Yeah, well, phooey. It worked, but the release sequence must have been coded, set off an alarm. Have to get my blasters. Ree. Hold it, Chance. That wasn't part of the deal. Intruder, shoot to kill. Neither were they, Spider-Man. Truce? Nuts. Truce. Padow. Terrific. I come to capture Chance, and I end up fighting alongside him. And they say politics makes strange bedfellows. Toink? Splam. My lasers and concussion blasts are a bit powerful for such a confined space, Spider-Man. What say we move the party outside? Yeah, I guess it is bad form to trash your host's laboratory. Thwip. Of course, when you're not trashing the hosts too, the point's kind of moot. Soldiers starting to panic. Guess they hadn't counted on facing superpowered looters. Guards running for the gates. Marvelous. I won't even have to break a sweat. I tend to agree, Mr. Pullman. This new situation does call for a rather drastic change in strategy. Would you like to pilot the helicopter, or shall I? Hey, watch your lasers. Those crates are filled with ammunition. I know. Drake made a wager, lost, and didn't pay. You'd be wise to grab hold of me, web slinger. I'm about to show these pikers what it means to renege on Chance. Sometime later, as the sounds of siren draws near. That was kind of extreme, Chance. Perhaps, but it worked. Yeah, I guess. At least those guns won't kill any innocents. And the secret of my weapon systems remains a secret. Thanks for your help, Spider-Man. Of course, that won't change things when we meet without a truce, but at least let me offer you a lift to Manhattan. Mary Jane could be getting anxious. Bus is kind of slow. I accept. However, yeesh, I figured I had a car stash somewhere. I'm not used to flying without webs. Sure hope Mary Jane appreciates this. But at that moment, on Chelsea Street, darn, shopping usually makes me feel better. But I'm still angry at Peter. He's out late, probably off being Spider-Man, and he didn't even leave a message on her answering machine. I mean, I don't expect a moment-by-moment account of his whereabouts, but a little consideration would be... Click. Oh, Peter! What are you doing sitting in the dark? Never mind, I've got a few nits to pick with. Peter? Your breathing sounds funny. Are you all... Hey, honey. God. I'm home. Next issue, a special double-length shocker. Don't miss Venom. One of the most classic covers in comic book history. I'm sure you guys have seen this one copied a million times, including on the recent Spawn 300. Those first couple of issues with Chance are kind of dry, but I do seem to remember that it gets better going forward, and I think it's just a good setup, because I think jumping right into Venom isn't the best way to introduce him. Oh shoot, I hate how you can only rent a certain amount of books. Is everyone still awake? Still reading? Still listening to my dulcet tones? I hope you've been enjoying comic books. I'm sorry that I can't have Eric Breen 24/7, but you know, I can't afford his contract. Let's see. What happened to... I think I deleted the book that I needed. I Am True Skill says, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Bear with me here as I try to pull up the appropriate book. This is the problem with modern comics, and they just keep rebooting and rebooting and rebooting, and you want to try to find the issue. And it's like, which series was it? Who knows? Dun, dun, dun. I know that it's... Where's single issues? Come on. Look at how many Captain America #2s there are. This is ridiculous. Look at this. All of these are Captain America #2. Well, some of them are like Captain America Punisher or whatever, but most of these are just straight up Captain America. There's way too many. Just keep running the same. Is this it? I think this is it. The Brubaker, Steve Epting. Yeah, this is it. All right, cool. Sorry about that. I normally try to borrow the next book ahead of time so that this is not an issue. It'll be in my thing. I'm True Skill says, read more Spider-Man. I am going to read more Spider-Man. I'm going to read issue 300 on Sunday. So be sure to show up for that big special issue. In the meantime, the other book that I'm reading in this series is Captain America by Ed Brubaker. This is a series that was recommended to me by Eric Breen. I read issue #1 last episode on Tuesday. This is starting off with a bang. I am really enjoying this so far. I've been looking forward to reading this all week. While it doesn't have Todd McFarlane art, it does have Brubaker writing. And even if you're not a fan of Captain America, I think this might change your mind. So without any further ado, Captain America Out of Time Part 2. 1:15 a.m. somewhere beneath Manhattan. What's going on? Why hasn't he made the call? He'll call. But it's been over an hour since he was supposed to. I don't like this. Just sitting on our hands, waiting with all this. I just don't like it. Something must have happened. Why else would he be? Cowards. he could hear you, he'd be signing your own death warrants. So just do as you were ordered and don't make me waste one of you for getting on my nerves. Nothing's happened. He'll call when he's ready, and then we have our fun. During the dark days of the early 1940s, a covert military experiment turned Steve Rogers into America's first super soldier, Captain America. Throughout the war, Cap and his partner Bucky fought alongside our infantry and with a group of heroes known as the Invaders. In the closing months of World War II, Captain America and Bucky were both presumed dead in an explosion over the Arctic Ocean. Decades later, a figure was found trapped in ice, and Captain America was revived. Having slept through more than half of the 20th century, Steve Rogers awakened in a world he never imagined, a world where war had moved from the battlefield to the city streets, a world in dire need of Captain America. A rogue Soviet general, Alexander Lukin, tries to bargain with the Red Skull for the Cosmic Cube, an object that can alter reality to its bearer's wishes. Even though the Skull does not possess the cube, he refuses to even entertain the offer. Years later, the Skull is at last in possession of the cube, but it is a damaged version and needs to be charged. He plans to cause death and destruction in 3 cities, London, Paris, and Manhattan, and transmute his death into energy to feed the cube. He waits in Manhattan to give his signal, wanting to see how his old enemy, Captain America, will react to his plans, wanting to watch him suffer one last time. But before he can make the midnight call to put his plans into motion, a cybernetic assassin working for General Lukin shoots him. The Red Skull is dead, and now General Lukin has the cube. We're pinned down, Cap. What do we do? Just hang tight, Bucky. Here comes the cavalry. Move, let's go. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat. Whack. Cap. Got a little trouble here. Bucky. Oh, God. Hang on. I'll have you to a medic in no time. Just hang on. Really had them on the run, didn't we, Steve? Sorry to... No. No, damn it, no. No. Okay. What the hell battle was that? Seems so familiar, but not right. Not right at all. Bucky never got shot in the belly. God, do I hate it when dreams and memories collide. Should probably just go for a run. What is this, 2 hours of sleep? Should beep, 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 beep. Shield communications at this hour? Beep, beep. Rogers. Steve, it's Sharon. Twice in one day? What's up? You're needed on the helicarrier ASAP. What is it? I'll brief you on the ride. Meet me on your roof in 2 minutes. I'll be waiting. SHIELD helicarrier headquarters of the UN Peacekeeping Task Force, high above the city of Manhattan. So I'm assuming Agent 13 filled you in on the basics? Yes, but I'll believe it when I see it, and probably not even then, honestly. I know what you mean, but it's real, Rogers. The Skull got killed tonight. Only thing stopping me from reporting that to the UN immediately is the forensics, which is one of the reasons I needed you here. My DNA? Yeah. Policy is to destroy your blood samples after your checkups to prevent just this problem. So I've got to go to the source. Oh, God. I'd almost forgotten that monster was living inside a clone of you, Steve. Yeah, I hadn't. You're telling me he was shot through the heart? I'm not telling you anything. That's what happened. High-powered sniper round. Would have been dead before he hit the floor. This isn't him. It's some kind of trick. Anyone can walk in front of a bullet, Rogers. We both know that. Still, only one way to prove it, as I said. Doctor, would you take a DNA sample from the captain here? Of course, Colonel Fury. I mean, if that's okay with... Do it. If that really is him, what was he doing in New York? The skull is never any place without a reason. We don't know that yet. He was found in a penthouse in the Upper West Side. It was mostly unfurnished, rented under a fake name. You just happened to find him? No, someone called in a tip to the cops. We scrambled their line and got there first to keep a lid on it. I want to see that crime scene now. Of course you do. Glass was bullet resistant, but that doesn't matter with high velocity rounds. Near as we can tell, he was on the phone when he got hit. Found his cell lying here. The lab is going over it, but it was secure. Didn't keep records of in or outgoing calls. May not get anything useful. I don't like this, Fury. This feels like a setup. I think it's real. That face, you can't make something like that twice. Not that exact. This... Steve, what is it? His disguise. Yeah, one thing about having a skull for a face, it's easy to wear a fake one and blend in. That's not what I mean. I saw this man on the street yesterday. He was watching me. Maybe it really is him. They call him the Red Skull. He's Hitler's strong right hand, a Nazi icon made to spread terror across Europe and the rest of the world. Like a boogeyman to send Jewish children into screaming fits at bedtime. And needless to say, he's been an effective tool. A bit too effective, which is why we decided to cut your training a bit short, Rogers. What do you need from me, General Phillips? What do I need? I need for you to serve your country in a way we never thought you'd have to, Rogers. But you're the only one of a kind now. So it falls to you. I just pray you're ready for this responsibility. My gut tells me you are, though, soldier. So let's go see what this new uniform the Army put together for you looks like. Steve? I was created because of him. In a way. Colonel Fury, we've got something here. Wouldn't like to tell me what this display case is for, by any chance? Can't be sure yet, but this device attached to it on the outside of it, it's some kind of next-generation receiver. For receiving what? Don't know yet, but I can tell you one thing. It's got several open feeds right now, like it's waiting for something. We reversed the signal and got a trace on one of the feeds right away. It's here in Manhattan, sir. You sure this is best? Just the two of us? We have no idea what the Red Skull was up to. We go barreling in with a whole shield assault team and we could just make things worse. The two of us have a much better chance of getting in unseen and assessing the situation. Or I can do this on my own if you'd rather wait here. You don't have to get snitty. I just would have thought a little backup, that's all. I'm certainly not going to let you go in on this on your own. Let's not get started down that path again. I'm well aware that Fury thinks you're babysitting me. That's not what anyone thinks at all. Oh? Then what's his hidden agenda this time out? Or did you think I wouldn't notice all those meaningful glances between you two tonight? I don't want to talk about this. Let's just concentrate on the task at hand. Sharon. Fine. He wants me to find out if you killed the Red Skull. What? I know. I told him there was no way. No matter what's going on inside your head right now, you aren't an assassin and you never would be. And let's not forget that there's very little chance that it's really the Red Skull being autopsied on the helicarrier. Oh wait, that was God, I hate when the thought balloons don't go. Sorry. And let's not forget that there's very little chance that it's not really the Red Skull being autopsied on the helicarrier. Okay, but if it's not, then why are you trudging through the underground tunnels in the middle of the night? Just in case. And to think I'd forgotten how frustrating you could be. Something ahead of us. This could be it. You got a head count? Let you know in a minute. Rad. That's a cool shot. You know who I am? Yes. What is this on your arm? AID. Advanced Ideas in Destruction. Working for the Skull? Yes, but I'm just a... Larry, you need any... Hey! Bam, 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 bam! So much for getting in unseen, I guess. Stay behind me. What the hell? Crack, crack, crack. Is Agent 13, I repeat. We needed taking hostile fire. I need that tactical assault team now. Not on my watch, you don't. Him. How the hell did he find us? Set it off. Throw the switch now. Spack. Quang. Ah. What in God's name is that? Some kind of bomb. I'm gonna guess fire-based thanks to our friend here. Steve, it's active. He must have hit the timer when he slammed into it. How do we deactivate it? I wish I knew. Oh wait, I do. What? These guys are rogue aim. These guys are rogue aim, right? When have you ever run into an aim device that could run without massive amounts of power? Probably part of why they had down in these old tunnels. Had it hooked right into the grid. So this was the Skull's plan? To set off some kind of insane electrical firebomb in the heart of the city? Sounds like him. But to what end, other than mass murder? That's not enough? Not for Skull. Not usually. Agent 13 to Colonel Fury. We need a science team down here now. Found a mean-looking WMD of some kind. It's neutralized for now, but we've got bigger problems than that, Agent. Got a weird energy signature off that glass case, so we ran a thermal scan. And now we know what was inside of it. A cosmic cube. Which means whoever killed the Red Skull tonight has got it. And we still have no idea who that is. It's me. No, didn't get a call either. But now I know why. Because someone killed him. I don't know how, but they did. Well, what the hell do you think I should do, idiot? Set your friggin' timer and call Paris and tell them to do the same thing. He may not be here to see it, but his world is gonna burn tonight in his memory. To be continued. Not quite as good as the first issue, but I feel like something is setting up. Eric's got pretty good taste in comics. Don't tell him I said so. Oh wait, shit, he's still here. Hey Eric, what's going on? Let's see. I wasn't paying attention to the chat because no one was talking. Let's see. Meet me on the helicarrier. What? What is it? It's a big ship where S.H.I.E.L.D. is located, but that's not important right now. Marania says, you can tell this old Captain America, Nick Fury, is white. Oh, yeah. What's going on, Marania? Welcome to the show. A little bit late, but glad to have you. Marania says she showed up when Bucky died. Oh, that's a kind of a bad time to show up. But, you know, he's been dead since World War II, so we can make jokes about it, especially since we know he comes back alive. Eric says, I was Ash's Ed McMahon tonight. I introduced him. Marani says, I'll have to catch that on the rewatch. Hey, appreciate you guys being here. It's been a late episode, thanks to having Breen on, so I went a little bit longer than normally would. Got a few people hanging around the chat. Definitely lost like 50% of the audience when Eric left, so it's unfortunate for me, but it sounds like Eric, you might have made it the whole stream. Got to experience some old Michelini Spider-Man, some Ed Brubaker Cap. I know it's not 70s comics, but you know, I do what I can do. Definitely enjoying this book. I can feel like this one's going to be a slow burn. I have a feeling or a sense that that's Brubaker's style of writing. Especially if he likes to write these crime noir stuff. He probably likes to let things have that slow burn in the beginning, just set things up, and then eventually, you know, everything comes to a head. Melissa says, I'm still here. Hey, good to see you, Melissa. Glad you made it. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the books. As you requested, I have been trying to interject some older stuff, not just the newer stuff. This Captain America book is from the early 2000s, so it's not really part of the infected time frame of Marvel. And then of course the Spider-Man, I think, is from 89, I want to say. So hopefully those are enjoyable. I'm looking forward really to the 300th issue and getting more into this Captain America run. And I hope you guys that are in the audience still enjoyed having Eric Breen on. Send him lots of emails saying that you want to see more of him, because definitely your input is more influential than mine. Eric, thank you for being on again. Always appreciate it. And thanks for staying up this late. I know you had a busy day, and it's East Coast out there, so it's really late for you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this stream up. I got some more comics I want to read, and I always say that every night, and then I end up falling asleep because I wait too late. And that's most of the reason why I don't get much reading done. This is because I put it off until like after midnight, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna read some comics before bed, and I'll read like one issue and pass out. So I'm pretty bad at that, especially if I have a beer. That's man, I'm just I can't even handle one beer anymore. I'm so pathetic. But I really, really enjoy these. You guys make it fun for me. I really like seeing you here, episode after episode. I'm looking forward in the future to have some opportunities of maybe doing some earlier content. But in the meantime, this is kind of what I'm stuck with. Be sure to catch replays of any of the episodes that you've missed. Even if you don't care about the whole stream, but you want to catch up on the comic books, remember you can fast forward with YouTube, so you can quickly just navigate to whatever comic you want to follow up on if you care about the story, or if you have the books yourself, read them, or buy them. Hopefully, that's kind of the idea on doing this, not just sharing cool comics with you or getting to experience, like in the case with Captain America, a cool book for the first time for me, but maybe to key you in on something that you're like, oh, hey, this is up my alley. Maybe I want to buy more of. Because there's a pretty long run. Well, I guess by today's standards, a pretty long run of the Brubaker's Cap. I'm only going to be reading, a small fraction of it. So, thanks everyone. I can just blabber on all night, but I'm not gonna waste your time. Thanks for being here again. Good to see you again, Marani, at the end. Au revoir, adieu,